There's a truth that few understand about God's decrees. When He establishes something in the invisible realm, visible circumstances become irrelevant. Geography loses its power. Time loses its tyranny. And physical absence becomes merely an insignificant detail before a spiritual reality that's already been accomplished. You're separated from that person. Miles between you. Silence occupying the space where conversations used to be. Emptiness where there used to be presence. And with each passing day, doubt whispers louder. Is it over? Was distance stronger than what we felt? Did God change His mind? But today, at this exact moment, God wants to reveal something that will completely transform how you see this separation. The distance between you didn't break what I joined together. It only revealed the eternal nature of what I created. Because there's a monumental difference between human connections and divine alliances. Human connections depend on constant proximity to survive. They need daily feeding, physical presence, repeated words. They're like plants that wither without regular water. But divine alliances? These are like trees with roots so deep they reach hidden underground aquifers. They can endure droughts. They can face storms. They may even appear dead on the surface. But the roots remain alive. Keep drinking. Keep sustaining the life that will one day sprout again. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Jeremiah 29:11. God's plans don't change with changes of address. They don't dissolve with changes in circumstances. What He planned before the foundation of the world cannot be cancelled by decisions made in a moment's anxiety. Have you ever wondered why, even separated, this person still occupies space in your thoughts? Why, even without contact, you still sense when something important happens in their life? Why, even trying to move forward, your heart refuses to file this story as closed? It's not weakness. It's not obsession. It's not inability to get over it. It's spiritual recognition. It's your soul knowing what your mind tries to deny. You were marked for each other at a level that transcends the physical. The Bible speaks of David and Jonathan in a way that many don't perceive the depth of. And Jonathan's soul was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. 1 Samuel 18:1. Notice the language. It wasn't Jonathan liked David or Jonathan was attracted to David. It was Jonathan's soul was knit, soul binding, union at the deepest level of human existence, a type of connection that doesn't depend on being in the same palace, the same city, or even the same country. And when King Saul, Jonathan's father, began to persecute David, forcing him to flee and live in hiding for years, did the bond between them break? No. Did it weaken? Never. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul. 1 Samuel 18:3. Covenant. Not just feeling, not only affection. Covenant. A pact that survives separation because it was established before God, not just between people. And here's what you need to understand about the distance between you. It's not destroying the covenant. It's testing whether what exists between you is truly covenant or just emotional attachment disguised as love. Attachment dies in absence. Covenant love matures in it. Attachment needs constant validation. Covenant love sustains itself in inner certainty. Attachment despairs with silence. Covenant love learns to hear God in the silence. Do you feel the difference now? The pain you carry isn't a sign that something died, it's a sign that something true is being refined. Like gold in fire, not to be destroyed but to have the impurities removed. Think about Moses. He was born among the people of Israel, but was separated and raised in Egypt's palace. 40 years away from his true identity. 40 years breathing Egyptian air, speaking Egyptian language, living Egyptian life. And then he killed an Egyptian defending a Hebrew, and had to flee to the desert. Another 40 years. Now neither in Egypt's palace, nor among the people of Israel, alone, tending sheep in Midian, so distant from his calling that it seemed impossible to ever return. But here's the truth God was weaving. The distance wasn't canceling Moses' calling. It was preparing the deliverer that Israel would need. It was breaking the pride of the Egyptian prince to form the humility of the shepherd who would hear God's voice in the burning bush. And when the time came, 80 years after birth, 40 years after separation, God said, "Come now, therefore, and I will send you." Exodus 3:10. The calling hadn't been canceled, just postponed until the man was ready to carry it. In the same way, the separation between you didn't cancel what God joined. It's preparing both of you to carry together something you didn't yet have the emotional, spiritual, or psychological structure to sustain. Because here's something nobody tells you about God-ordained relationships. They don't exist just for your personal happiness. They exist to fulfill purposes that are greater than both of you. And if God united you before the right time, the relationship might survive, but the purpose would be aborted. Have you stopped to think about what God is doing with that person while you're separated? You look at your own pain, your own loneliness, your own waiting. But God is operating on both sides of the equation. He's teaching that person the value of what they have in you. He's showing through absence what presence meant. He's allowing them to experience other superficial connections so they recognize the rare depth of what you share, and more. He's breaking in that person the same destructive patterns he's breaking in you. He's healing in them old wounds that, if not treated now, would contaminate the union that's coming. He's developing in them emotional capacities they didn't yet have. Proverbs 27:17 says something profound. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. But before two pieces of iron can sharpen each other, each needs to be tempered individually in fire. Because iron that hasn't been tempered doesn't sharpen, it breaks. And God, in His infinite wisdom, is tempering both of you separately so that when you unite again, you'll strengthen each other instead of destroying each other. But while this happens, you face the most difficult battle, the battle against perception. Because your eyes only see distance, your ears only hear silence, your mind only processes absence. And based on that, you conclude it's over. But faith is precisely this: confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Hebrews 11:1. You don't see God working, but He is. You don't see that person's heart being shaped, but it is. You don't see circumstances being aligned, but they are. And there's a specific moment, a moment only God knows, when all the invisible work will suddenly become visible, when everything planted in secret will sprout into the light, when the seed that seemed dead underground will break through the soil and show itself alive. The story of Esther and King Ahasuerus teaches us something crucial about God's timing. Esther was a young Jewish woman, orphaned, without power, without influence, and suddenly she's taken to the palace to compete for the position of queen. She goes through 12 months of preparation, 6 months with oil of myrrh, 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. Esther 2:12. 12 months. An entire year being prepared before even seeing the king face to face. And even after becoming queen, she spent years without knowing why God had placed her there. Years living in the palace, but without understanding the complete purpose. Until the critical moment arrived. An extermination decree was issued against all Jewish people. And it was exactly at that moment, not before, not after, that Esther understood why God had positioned her as queen. And who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. All the preparation time had a purpose. All the waiting made sense. And if she had tried to force the purpose before the time, she would have failed catastrophically. In the same way, there's a time such as this being prepared for you and that person. A moment where everything will make sense, where you look back and say, now we understand why God separated us. Now we see why it was necessary to wait. Now we recognize that God's timing was perfect. I know this waiting has been difficult. I know there are nights when you feel alone, questioning whether it's worth continuing to believe. The silence weighs heavy, the absence hurts, and uncertainty consumes you. But I want you to know that there's a way to transform this pain into preparation, this loneliness into strengthening, this waiting into growth. I've prepared something special for those who are living this journey of waiting for true love. A gift I prepared with all my heart, thinking exactly of you. It's available in the first pinned comment, and if it's meant for you, you'll know. Because sometimes, what we need most isn't immediate answers, but tools to walk with wisdom during the journey. But until that moment arrives, you need to do something extremely difficult. Live fully in the present without putting your life on pause waiting for the future. Because there's a deadly trap in waiting. When you stop living while waiting for someone to return, you're not just wasting time, you're becoming a lesser version of who God called you to be. And when that person finally returns, they won't find the vibrant, complete, fulfilled person they fell in love with. They'll find someone withered, stagnant, defined by their absence. God doesn't want that. He wants you to grow during the waiting, to develop talents that were dormant, to heal wounds that were infected, to build a solid identity in Christ, not in any human relationship. Because when you reunite, and you will reunite, it won't be the union of two desperate fragments trying to complete each other. It will be the covenant of two whole people choosing to walk together, not out of necessity, but out of calling. Colossians 3:3 says something revolutionary. For you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. Your life is hidden with Christ, not with that person, not with any relationship, with Christ. And when you live from this truth, something supernatural happens. You stop begging for love and start radiating love. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop despairing and start resting. And it's precisely this version of you, confident, complete, rested in God, that this person needs to find when the time is fulfilled. Now, about the pain you feel, it's real and God doesn't minimize it. He doesn't say it doesn't hurt or it's just your imagination. He acknowledges the pain, but He also reveals its purpose. The pain of separation is killing possessive love in you and birthing selfless love. It's destroying love that demands and building love that gives. It's eliminating anxious love and forming patient love. This transformation of love I'm describing, from anxious love to mature and patient love, is something that deserves to be deepened. If you feel you need more clarity on how to build this solid foundation during the waiting, remember what I left for you in the pinned comment. St. Thomas Aquinas taught that there are different levels of love. Concupiscent love, which desires the other for oneself, and benevolent love, which desires the good of the other, even if it doesn't benefit you directly. And the pain of distance is the fire that purifies the first type and strengthens the second. You're learning to love this person by wanting the best for them, even when the best doesn't include you immediately. You're learning to pray for their happiness, even when that happiness doesn't come from you yet. You're developing a mature love that very few people know. And when that matured love meets the matured love God is developing in them, the union that results won't be common. It will be extraordinary. It will be something so solid that storms won't shake it, so deep that disappointments won't destroy it, so genuine that time will only strengthen it. But you need to understand an uncomfortable truth. If that person came back today, the way you are today, and the way they are today, you'd probably repeat the same mistakes that separated you. You'd recreate the same dysfunctional patterns. You'd hurt each other in the same ways. That's why God, in His love, is keeping you separated until both of you are truly transformed. Not improved, transformed. Because improvements are superficial. Transformation is deep, structural, permanent. Romans 12:2 speaks about this. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation through mind renewal, not just behavior change, but revolution of thinking, values, priorities. And this transformation takes time. It doesn't happen in days or weeks. It happens in seasons. And you're in the middle of a transformation season that, when complete, will leave you unrecognizable, in the best possible sense. There's also something that needs to be said about the concept of belonging. This person still belongs to you. Doesn't mean ownership, doesn't mean control, doesn't mean you have rights over their life. It means something much deeper. It means that in God's eternal plan, you were designated for each other with a purpose that transcends the present time. That there's a spiritual covenant that, even though invisible now, remains real and active. But this covenant respects free will, respects each person's timing, respects the individual healing process. Because God never forces. He invites, attracts, persuades, but never compels. So when we say, this person belongs to you, we're declaring a heavenly decree, not an earthly prison. We're recognizing a divine calling, not creating an emotional cage. And if you understand this correctly, this truth will free you instead of imprisoning you. Because when you know something is yours by God's decree, you stop anxiously fighting to force it to happen. You rest in the certainty that what is genuinely yours will arrive at the right time. Ecclesiastes 3:1 remains true. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. There's a time to separate, and a time to come together. A time for silence and a time for conversation. A time for waiting and a time for harvest. And you're in the time of waiting not because God forgot you, but because the harvest hasn't fully ripened yet. But it's ripening. With each passing day, closer to the perfect point of maturation. If you've made it this far and feel you're ready to dive deeper into this preparation journey, there's something that can help you. The guide, How to Attract and Recognize True Love, was created especially for those who are in this season of waiting and want to transform it into real growth. It's available in the first pinned comment, and it might be exactly what you need to go through this time with more clarity and purpose. Finally, a word about God's faithfulness. He never started something He won't finish. Being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1-6. If God planted a genuine connection in you, if He marked your hearts for each other, if He wove a story that goes beyond the obvious, then He will complete what He started. Not in your timing, not in your way, but in perfect timing, in the perfect way, for the perfect result. Distance didn't break what God joined. It only temporarily separated what will soon unite again, but now in an unshakable, indestructible, and eternal way. So take a deep breath, dry your tears, and trust this person still belongs to you in God's plan. And what God decrees in heaven manifests on earth. It's just a matter of time, God's time, and He's never late. If this content has made a difference in your journey, and if you believe it deserves to reach more people, you can support this channel in a very simple way. Just click the thanks button below this video and make a donation. Any contribution, no matter how small, helps a lot to keep this space alive. And even if you can't right now, your presence here is already an immense gift. Grateful to have you here.